It's the most emotional experience that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people. This is a classic film that established the Disney name.
Pour a $269 million budget into a fairy tale, and you expect a royal banquet, not a poison feast. Yet by the first Sunday, Disney's live-action Snow White had mustered just $43 million in U.S. ticket sales and collapsed another 65% the very next weekend. Numbers analysts now call the studio's worst ROI on record. While accountants tallied losses, the film's lightning rod lead made an even louder headline. Rachel Zegler is stepping away from new movie roles, at least for now. Industry trackers first noticed her development slate had gone blank. ScreenRant asked bluntly whether she was taking a break after Snow White. Days later, her publicist confirmed Zegler will refocus on the stage, anchoring a 12-week West End revival of Evita this summer and pressing pause on additional screen offers. The optics are brutal. The very princess accused of killing the magic is retreating from Hollywood's glare just as the kingdom counts its coins. But this move also frames Snow White's meltdown as more than a box office blip. It's a cultural cautionary tale about how fast a social media storm can reroute a career and torch a legacy IP. And the deeper you dig into casting gambles, CGI dwarfs, strike-year chaos, and boardroom panic, the more rancid that once shiny apple begins to smell. So how did Disney's fairest bet turn toxic? And what does the princess's exit really mean for the House of Mouse? Let's crack the mirror and watch the shards fall. The 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs didn't simply entertain. It rescued Walt Disney from bankruptcy and birthed a global empire. Executives call it the cornerstone IP. So when Bob Iger approved a live-action do-over, analysts framed it as a bottom-of-the-ninth grand slam sitting on a tee. Early pitch decks projected a billion-dollar haul, especially because previous reimaginings, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, each soared past $1 billion. Inside Burbank, synergy teams mapped cross-promotions, theme park parades, a Broadway pre-commit, doll lines, Disney Plus docuseries, even a princess-inspired skincare brand. Yet those glossy spreadsheets ignored one 21st century dilemma. Social media outrage can turn a sure bet into a bullseye. Internal research warned that Gen Z is hyperallergic to anything that feels inauthentic, while millennials hold tight to childhood nostalgia. One misstep could alienate both. Nevertheless, the studio charged ahead, announcing a March 21st release, Spring Break, family traffic, minimal competition. On stage at D23, Iger promised a timeless tale, newly relevant. Few noticed the kingdom's foundation already showed cracks. Casting directors had hunted for months when Rachel Zegler, the 20-year-old breakout of West Side Story, walked in singing Part of Your World just for fun. She nailed the callback and reportedly accepted a $1.5 million base salary, plus back-end bonuses. Her Colombian-Polish heritage fit Disney's diversity push. TikTok exploded with edits of her in the blue and yellow dress. Then came the soundbite that would haunt the project. At a 2023 red carpet panel, a board interviewer riffed, "So, excited to be rescued by Prince Charming?" Zegler laughed. "The prince? He literally stalks her. Creepy, right? It's 2023, not 1937. Within hours, hashtag Not My Snow White trended. Commentators on both ends of the spectrum piled on. Conservatives decried anti-romance feminism. Progressives accused the original film of outdated consent norms and hailed Zegler as brave. Weeks later, she tweeted a simple line, "And always remember, free Palestine." The timing mid-press tour ignited fresh outrage. Right-leaning outlets framed it as Hollywood preaching politics, while some left-wing activists adopted Zegler as a voice of conscience. Disney PR panicked. The post stayed live for 48 hours before disappearing, but screenshots guaranteed immortality. Internally, executives debated pulling her from junkets. Legally, they couldn't. The die was cast. The heroine had become a lightning rod. As if one controversy weren't enough, Peter Dinklage swung a broadsword at the plot. On Mark Maron's podcast, the Emmy winner blasted Disney for remaking a story about seven dwarfs living in a cave. He called it hypocrisy dressed as progress. Overnight, mainstream outlets amplified the critique. Disability rights groups demanded representation. Conservative commentators yelled, "Woke cannibalism." Disney's fix came fast and expensive. Scrap practical dwarf casting, design motion capture magical companions with varied heights, species, and backstories. VFX vendors estimated $35 to $40 million for the swap. Leaked set photos revealed one dwarf and 6 full-size extras in bohemian outfits. The internet roasted them as Snow White and the random hiking buddies. Traditionalists fumed that Disney erased beloved characters, while progressives mocked the studio for CGI dwarfism instead of hiring actors. Sentiment scores free fell for the second time. In a single quarter, goodwill burned like a witch's cauldron, and the bill kept growing. The pandemic shuttered sound stages, SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes froze scripts, and initial test screenings scored in the low 60s. Disney's greenlight bar is achy. Each hiccup triggered fresh reshoots. More Godot screen time to capitalize on her post-Wonder Woman cachet, a new animated prologue explaining the kingdom, and softer dialogue for Zegler after focus groups called her too cynical. By fall 2024, the budget ballooned past $269 million, dwarf replacements not included. Rumors, never confirmed, claim Bob Iger stalked the lot demanding daily rushes. Others said he floated paying Zegler for $1 million go-away money to quietly recast, but the logistics were impossible. Marketing's once robust spend shrank 20%. International premieres were trimmed to London and Sao Paulo, and Disney Plus making of Snow White special was yanked from the slate. When the fourth and final trailer finally landed, TikTok creators stitched reaction videos side by side, with Zegler's controversial quotes. Free publicity, but not the kind Disney hoped for. Tracking models a month out predicted $55 to $60 million domestic. By release week, they'd slipped below $50 million. Thursday night previews posted $7.2 million. Respectable for a rom fantasy, disastrous for a 9-figure tentpole. By Sunday morning, real-time numbers signaled a $43 million debut, the weakest for any Disney princess remake. The following Friday told the harsher tale, a sophomore drop of 65%, meaning Snow White's second weekend gross, $14.2 million, was lower than Dumbo's, and Dumbo cost half as much. Screens vanished. IMAX pivoted to a surprise indie horror hit. Photos of empty auditoriums flooded Newsweek articles. Analysts now forecast a $250 million write-down, rivaling John Carter for Disney's costliest stumble. The once proud mirror cracked, reflecting shareholder dread. Days later, Cosmopolitan rolled out a glossy spread, Zegler in vintage-style gowns, tear-stained eyes. In the interview, she called Snow White my childhood hero, insisted prior remarks were clumsy shorthand, and revealed hateful DMs she'd received. Sympathetic pieces popped up in People and EW, noting the misogyny female leads often endure. But every heartfelt post triggered a counterwave. Critics resurfaced the Free Palestine tweet, questioning her sincerity. A Newsweek op-ed mocked the tour as PR necromancy. Meanwhile, Disney's publicity response grid, yes, it has a name, updated nightly. Color-coded charts track spikes in Rachel negative, Rachel sympathetic, and movie neutral. One executive privately dubbed it Operation Damage Snow Control. On The Late Show, Zegler tried humor. If a prince shows up uninvited, lock your window. Audience laughs were polite. Social media comments brutal. Within 24 hours, hashtag recast Snow White trended again, bolstered by an inside the magic rumor that Disney might reboot the reboot. The apology tour seemed less like redemption, more like gasoline on dying embers. The flop spilled beyond box office into boardrooms. Bloomberg noted Disney stock slid 3.8% the Monday after opening. Analysts tied the dip directly to franchise fatigue and escalating remake costs. An internal memo leaked to the Wrap warned staff to avoid social commentary when promoting legacy IP. Theme Park Division quietly pulled plans for a Snow White Castle projection show, replacing it with Encanto imagery. Culture war pundits declared victory. Go woke, go broke, trended for a week. Progressive columnists shot back that misogyny, not wokeness, fueled the boycott. Meanwhile, Disney's finance wing calculated home entertainment salvage, early PVOD at $29.99. Disney Plus drop in 90 days instead of 120 deluxe soundtrack vinyl. Even if streaming engagement spiked, accountants projected net losses above $115 million. Behind closed doors, a sobering question emerged. Was the live-action remake engine overheating? Sources claim the Tangled remake and Hunchback of Notre Dame rethink were paused pending reevaluation. Product licensing partners demanded transparency. A leading toy retailer cut its Snow White shelf space by half after week 3 sales cratered. The brand that once symbolized evergreen profit was now flagged as high risk. At the heart of the storm lies a philosophical riddle. Can a studio modernize cherished folklore without severing the sentimental umbilical cord? The remake pushed agency over romance, but its half measures pleased no one. Feminist critics said Snow's journey still hinged on a male villain. Traditionalists lamented the missing love duet. The dwarfs, core to Disney's first Oscar, morphed into CGI sidekicks devoid of the original's warmth. ScreenRant called it middle-of-the-road filmmaking with a gold-plated invoice. Behind that verdict is Disney's deeper identity crisis. Is it curator of timeless myths or chaser of trendy hashtags? The company that once preached if you love something, remake it now wrestles with remake fatigue. Studio old-timers whisper that Walt's lesson was innovation, not repetition. The 1937 film was radical, not safe. If resurrecting Snow White ends in ashes, perhaps the only path forward is fresh lore. Stories like Encanto that mine new cultural wells. But fresh means risk, and risk terrifies shareholders nursing a $250 million loss. As the dust settles, writers' rooms in Burbank debate a new edict. Don't lecture, enchant. Whether that mantra sticks will determine if Disney's next century mirrors its first or breaks the mirror for good. Snow White's live-action saga proved that fairy tales are fragile when squeezed by algorithms and outrage. The glass coffin now sits beside Lone Ranger and John Carter in Hollywood's Museum of Cautionary Tales, and the crack in Disney's mirror is a permanent reminder that magic cannot be manufactured on a spreadsheet. Yet stories survive by evolving. Perhaps decades from now, a bolder visionary will rediscover Snow White's heart, neither pandering to cynicism nor shackled by nostalgia. For now, the apple sits half-eaten, its shine dulled, its taste debated in every comment thread. Was this the end of Happily Ever After, or the hard lesson Disney needed before carving a new path through the forest? Only audiences with their wallets and watch lists can finish that chapter. So as the credits fade on this $269 million parable, remember, the fairest magic lies not in castles or corporate vaults, but in stories told with courage, clarity, and a dash of wonder. Breathe that in, and the next apple might just sparkle again.